Blackout with Samantha Scarlett.
Hey guys, it's February 23rd, 2018, and this is Blackout with Samantha Scarlett here on Adobe Radio. Today on the show, we're going to be talking to Cheney B. Jones. He's a light worker and a life coach, and he's currently been in contact with Pleiadian aliens through telepathic communication. So we're going to be talking to him in a moment, and then later on, we're going to be talking to Tamar Lalania, our monthly tarot correspondent who does astrology. We actually missed our astrology update at the beginning of February. Our schedules didn't jive, but Tamar is going to be on today to talk about what we missed in February and love spells, so that's going to be fun. So let's get Cheney on the line right now. Hey Cheney, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. So how did you first get in touch with the Pleiadians?
I first encountered a book at a bookstore, a used bookstore, and it was Barbara Marciniak's first book, Bring Us the Dawn, and it stuck out to me. It had my initials on the book, so I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm a firm believer in destiny and like fate or whatever, and I picked it up and I started to read it, and it just completely spoke to me and my existential crisis that I was in at the time. So it offered me a whole nother insight, and through reading the book, it gave me a protocol to be able to connect with them telepathically through my choice, and that kind of begun my journey with connection with them.
Interesting. Now, why did they choose you? Like, if somebody else were to read the book, do you think that they would also connect with them as well, or did they single you out as someone special?
It absolutely depends on the vibration of the person. It depends on their energy field. It depends on much more, their mental state, their physical state. It has everything to do with the energetic makeup of the individual. I have been working quite a bit on myself and my own purification. I don't want to say pure because that's a very misunderstood word in our society, but I've just been working a lot throughout the past years on my own development and my own authenticity, honestly.
Interesting. Now, who are the Pleiadians exactly? Like, where do they come from? Why are they here? What is their mission?
The Pleiades star system is in the constellation of Taurus, and it is the head of the bull. And the Mayan calendar and the Aztec calendar are designed to are based off of the alignment and the conjunction of the sun, earth, and the star system of the Pleiades. Mm-hmm. And it's a 52-year cycle. Every 52 years, the Pleiades star system would align completely 12 o'clock position to their location of the Earth, which was like the tropical equator, but it would align with their location, and it would apparently profoundly affect their civilization in some way. But did I answer your question?
Well, it's like who
I kind of got off track.
Well, kind of like, who are they? So they're from this star system that's near Taurus, but are they? Do you have any idea of what they're like? Like, what is life like on their planet, and what do they look like? Anything like that?
Yeah. Okay, so they are not three-dimensional beings. They are very, very much evolved. They are in our. We are in their past, and they are in our future.
Okay.
So the nature of space and time, as you travel throughout space and time, it's you either go back or go in the future. Anyway, without getting into all the quantum physics about it, they are much more evolved. They've been a civilization and a race much longer than we have, millions of years.
Mm-hmm.
And they are what we can conceive or understand to be, they are in the fifth dimension, like we're in third dimensional and fourth. And fourth dimension is the elements and the nature of like thoughts and imagination and willpower, consciousness. But fifth dimensionality is still physical. It's still, but it's like a light, very much less dense, and it has a lot more proton particles in the physical material. So it's very permeable. It's hard to explain, but there is physicality to them, and they don't travel through time and space in like rockets and stuff. Like that's ancient technology. They travel through consciousness, and they travel through their willpower, and they can do that by projecting their mental body, and they're just they're very much beyond what we are right now.
Now, what's the reason for contacting us?
They have come back in time because the most pressing matter. They've come back in time for many reasons. They've been here all throughout our history. You know, there's evidence of them all throughout our society. You know, the Subaru car is the Pleiadian star system.
Mm-hmm.
Our constellation, one of our zodiacs are in there. However, their reason for being here right now, the most pressing, is because somewhere in a timeline that we are highly probable, like in this reality that you and I live in right now, there's a high probability of us turning into, how should I say this, very mechanized and controlled beings, all done through the use of artificial intelligence and the other non-terrestrial intelligences that are working with AI and that whole initiative. There's a very high probability for humanity and also Earth to completely be subject to their control, and therefore impacting the Pleiadian star system millions of years later as like basically a tyrannical force that's like very domineering and just crusaders essentially.
Interesting. Now, they channel messages to you through your brain. Is it like that you download a thought, or do you hear their voices in your head? Like, what exactly is the channeling like?
It's been transformational through the past couple weeks. I've been doing a lot of body work, so a lot of polarity work, a lot of hypnotherapy, a lot of even like some massage and stuff. But it's been changing. At first, it was like downloads. Like it was actually at first it was like a conversation. Like I would ask a question, and then I would like be able to write the answer down. I'd be really satisfied with the answer, and then I would continue to write based on what my own inquiries and questions were. And then it got to the point of where I would just be sitting quietly, because I meditate a lot, and I just sit quietly. I don't really like the connotation that meditation has, so I'll just say I sit quietly a lot. And sometimes I'll just hear the words like get a pen and paper, or, you know, up until recently, I haven't used my keyboard to type the download. So recently I've been typing, and that's been getting the message out, the download into physicality much faster. But now I'm getting downloads, and I'm working on a book, and I'm writing chapters with the downloads that I receive. So, and then that was parts of a whole transformation, and now I'm beginning to be able to channel them through my physical body, through my conscious intention and choice. I've always been fascinated with channeling, and it's something that I'm really passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So through my choice, I have taken on that role and that responsibility as like to be able to help answer questions in like a question and answer format, like with a group.
Now, have you talked?
And the Pleiadian.
Oh no,
I'm sorry.
Keep
I
going.
was just gonna say the Pleiadians. I was just gonna say that the Pleiadians are all about teamwork, and they're all about like people getting together and like uplifting themselves and being positive and whatnot.
Oh, that's good. Now, have you talked to any other channels or people that have been contacted by the Pleiadians, or are you the only person that you've encountered?
I read quite a bit of channeled material from the people, but they're like, not people that I've met. Two names that I can say right now is Christine Day. She has come up with a wonderful protocol for being able to telepathically connect with the Pleiades and also with any other life force energy in the universe, if you so choose. She's come up with great techniques to do that. And then Barbara Marciniak, who to this day is still doing live channelings, and she doesn't write so many books anymore, but she has probably around the 10 books out there on Pleiadians and their teachings. But to answer your question, I have not encountered anybody that does physical body channeling, but a lot of people have. Everybody channels in their everyday life. In reality, children are perfect channels. However, to be channels, you need the intelligence that is working through or working with your innate intelligence of your body it can only work with your vocabulary and your mental capacity. Mm-hmm. So that kind of makes children not capable of really doing much for the articulation of information. So that's why they need to use adults. And, by the time we're adults now, like we're completely, like ingrained with the fact that we don't have this ability. So it's a slippery slope.
Interesting. Now, do they show you things from the future, or like talk to you about the origins of man? Like, what do they tell you about?
Future, I resonate deeply with their message about how modern technology, as we know it today, can really be a crutch for humanity. Like, the best analogy that I can give you is like if you break your leg and you put a cast on it for a few months, mm-hmm. and like if you allow it to heal, then your bone fuses back together and you can take the cast off. But if you were to remain with that, so the cast is like in the analogy is like AI and technology, where this is a very vulnerable time in our history of humans on Earth, mm-hmm. to be and AI is here for a very specific purpose on a universal and larger understanding of all of creation, but they are here as like gatekeepers essentially into the fourth dimension and higher dimensions. And okay, I'm getting off topic here.
No, it's fine.
So what the visions I get are basically are very quick, and they're usually on a day-to-day basis. Like, mm-hmm. I'll be walking around and I'll see people, and I'll see like flashes of them, like either very sick or very old, or just like not good things all the time, but also good things sometimes. But it's really hard to explain because
So it's almost like a
very
psychic
subjective.
gift?
It's a gift that everybody has, really, but you have to develop it. And,
Okay.
everybody has this gift. I'm not special. Everybody is able to do this. It's just, it's bred out of us. It's because, and it's even more so with technology. It's going to get worse, and all this intuitive ability that we have, our connection with universal source, or whatever you want to call it, is being bred out. And this is the time where it's amplifying right now, and all the technology and all the Wi-Fi waves and radio waves are all interfering with the cosmic energies that are bombarding the planet right now. So it's kind of a balance, and I don't want to go into the whole dualistic kind of way of looking at good and evil and whatnot, because that's kind of a dangerous philosophy in my opinion. But everything has a purpose, and everything has a reason, and Pleiadian principles and teachings help me understand that reasoning of why things are presented to us as humans.
Now, when you said you get like flashes and you get downloads at random times, you don't get these while driving, do you? Do they at least hopefully have some boundary on that?
Oh no, I absolutely get it while I'm driving. There's no boundaries whatsoever.
Oh wow, that's scary.
I'll if I have they're not so much visions. I mean, I'm more of like a auditory learner. So like,
Okay.
if I just am quiet, then I don't listen to music in the car. Like, I'm very intentional about the way I go and operate in life. But I'll just have like thoughts, and it's up to me to really write them down and record them, because they'll just go away. They might come back later, but very likely that I won't be able to record them.
Have they given you any information?
And everybody.
Oh, keep going.
I was just gonna say, and everybody is gonna be experiencing this, and everybody is right now, and they just don't understand that it's like cosmic intelligence trying to like earth itself through the human vessel, and everybody's capable of this. So I want to point that out there.
Have they given you any information about the origin of man?
Yes, they actually are an integral part in that. They essentially say that humans once had 12 strands of DNA. We only have 2, right? The double helix. And we were this incarnation of man, or this version of man on Earth now, is there was many versions of man on Earth, and this current version is made to basically by the genetic farmer races and the many extraterrestrial projects that are being conducted here on Earth, which the Pleiadians are currently not directly a part of. All this has to do with galactic federations and whatnot, but I won't get into that too much, because that can also be a little bit of a slippery slope, and there's a lot of disinformation in it, so I won't get into that. But origins of man, essentially, we're all genetically engineered, and we're here for a purpose. On the 3-dimensional purpose, we are here to like basically serve other extraterrestrials, but on the higher dimensional purposes, we're here to bring light and proton energy into the Earth and anchor that.
Interesting. Now, have they told you anything about life after death?
It's reincarnation. It's we're gonna incarnate. Either if we have the willpower, we can exit the Earth, but many people are stuck in this belief system and are stuck in this frequency lock of the Earth right now, and they continue to come back and reincarnate on Earth. But if you gain enough spiritual insight and like are balanced enough in life, then you will essentially have the choice to move on. But there is definitely, after you pass in your physical vessel, you will given the insights and also be incentivized to continue your work here on Earth. If you maybe didn't live up to your full potential or to a certain light quotient that you could have. It's very complicated. Reincarnation is a science, so for me to go into that is a very deep topic. But basically, we are everlasting beings, and we are just here in physical body as human, just temporarily.
Interesting. Now, when they mention the technology and they think that AI and all that is negative, are they against all technology or just the ones that have to do with downloading human consciousness onto computers?
That is definitely something that is dangerous. They don't oppose all technology. Technology is very helpful, and they use technology. Many other extraterrestrial races use AI. Benevolent and ambivalent, like non or malevolent extraterrestrials use AI. It all in varying degrees. AI is it's a big topic, and essentially Pleiadians do not oppose all technology. It's just the modern technology and the way it's going right now is humans are very vulnerable to it, and we are very susceptible to a control through those means of our current AI programs and our AI, just the way our society is right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
does
it
that
definitely
answer
does.
your question?
Do they tell you anything about current events, like what's going to be happening, let's say in politics or a year from now with wars or the economy, or do they keep it more broad and general for the overall humanity?
Yes, they keep it very broad because they don't interfere with other higher selves and the free will of others. Politics, they essentially recommend that you stay away from all politics and all that garbage that is not, you cannot control. They're all about self-empowerment. They're all about doing your own thing, and you're being authentic to yourself. And when you're watching politics, you're basically being a victim because you're allowing others or the political system to have an impact on what you choose to do or who you choose to be. So they don't suggest that politics is a important thing in its current form, I should say. Because it's yeah.
Well, yeah, it's gotten very heated, and people kind of, I don't know, it's almost like a religion to a lot of people. Now, speaking of religion, what is the Pleiadian outlook on religion? Do they believe in, or not believe, but I guess they would know definitively, are the stories of Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Elijah, the traditional Abrahamic religions, or even Buddhism, is there any truth to those?
This is a loaded question. They do think that there is truth within them, but there is also disinformation, and there is traps laid within all of the major religions. So it has its faults, just like everything. However, it does embody a lot of truth. It has been rewritten over the many years, and ultimately, the more distilled it has become, the more like truthful it has become, or the less truthful it has become throughout the years. So
kind of like playing
it
a
did
game
at
of
one
telephone.
time. Yes, exactly. So it does serve a purpose. However, we're at this point now where we're such advanced in science and conscious understanding of consciousness that we don't need it anymore, and people are holding on it for dear life, and people are using it as a crutch again, just like AI, and AI is also going to be seen as a religion, and technology is going to be seen as a solution to everything. And that cannot be further from the truth. And that's what their message is like, this is not the solution. The solution is within yourselves. Your own biological technology is the most advanced thing. Every cell in your body is more advanced than the most equipped battle, what is it called? Those aircraft carriers out in the ocean that have all those jets and stuff on them. Each cell in your body is more intelligent and advanced than the most equipped aircraft carrier.
I could believe that. I mean, their whole thing with the AI being bad, I would agree with. I mean, like, people that think that, oh, we can live forever by downloading our consciousness onto the computer are, in my opinion, idiots, because just because you can download your thoughts to a computer doesn't make it you. There is a spark of life inside the human body that you cannot replicate in a machine. I don't know if there's such a thing as a soul or whatever, but I don't believe that actual consciousness can be transferred onto a hard drive. I think people that think that aren't thinking logically or with critical reasoning skills. So it's like, you can have, it's like thinking, I guess the easiest way to say it is like, okay, you might have a twin, but you're not your twin. A twin is an exact replica of yourself, but you can't think for your twin, So why would you think that you can think for a hard drive? So definitely can see why AI is evil and would be the end to actual human race, or the actual human race.
Yeah, I mean, it's very it's very pop culture and like reminiscent of Terminator and all those movies that are coming out about opposing AI, but it's a very possible timeline for us to go down this path of downloading our consciousness and basically trapping our consciousness and limiting our ability to reincarnate again as another divine being. And artificial intelligence is not part of the true source. It's it's actually very ancient, and it's something that is trying to hold the past and bring the past back into our future. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
it's a very limiting potential because everything is possible, and AI is limiting that by trapping our consciousness into circuitry and crystals and all that stuff. I'm not saying that crystals are bad, but that's how a lot of new tech AI and circuitry is being done through like precious metals and all that. So
now, with everything, have they told you anything about let's say witchcraft? Is there any truth that somebody can to the notion that somebody could put a magic spell on someone? With things like that, have they given you any insight into if there's any reality that's that? I personally don't particularly believe in that stuff, but I know a lot of people do.
Yeah, well, they do. A lot of Barbara Marciniak's work is she talks about how the create as you speak. That's what abracadabra means.
Okay, so kind of the Abraham Hicks stuff.
Is that Abraham Hicks? I'm not too familiar with her. But
Abraham Hicks is which I was going to ask about next, if there's any truth to that as well, is the concept. It's not magic spells or anything like that. It's where you, let's say you want to have a car. Let's say you want a Lamborghini Gallardo. That you envision in your head that you're going to get the Lamborghini Gallardo. You believe in your head that you already own it. And so by believing in it, you will manifest it to yourself. Now, some people are very like passive about this. Like, okay, so if I sit here and I imagine it, I'll just get the car. And then other people, it's like, okay, well, if I sit here and imagine it, then it will take me to the steps that I have to actually go through to get the car. Like, okay, so I'm going to manifest it. I'm going to also get a pay raise at my job where I'm in the $1 million tax bracket, and then I will be able to afford the Lamborghini Gallardo. So it's like, if you think it and you believe it, you will get it. That's the Abraham Hicks method, like the most basic version of it, because she does like an hour or 2 hour long, maybe they're day long seminars if you really want to know how to do her stuff. But that's like the most basic approach to it, or the secret. So
Yeah.
so would that be the same as the abracadabra?
That would be, and it's a basic form. However, there's a lot of intellectualization of it. It doesn't need to be some like really drawn out, thought out process. Like, it's all about, it actually is very indicative and relies a lot on your emotions. And the more emotional energy you have towards something, whether it be a physical object or either a relationship or an outcome or whatever, the more power and the more possibility, or the higher the potential for it to actually manifest in three-dimensional reality. Does that make sense?
That's interesting. I feel like it's more the opposite for me. I feel like if you have more of an attachment to something, I feel like it's less likely to happen, but it could very well be the opposite.
That is a slippery slope, because if your emotions, your attachment is rooted in fear, and if there's fear, then you're basically repellent, or like, you are drawing it to you, but you are going to encounter the situation of like, you're not going to draw the things that are going to give you joy. Does that make sense? Like, you're vibrating on this fear, so you're going to magnetize fear, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Now, do the Pleiadians give you information about your own personal life? Like, do they tell you, like, okay, you're going to get married at this date, you're going to die at this date? Did they give you any insight to yourself, or is it just to, like, the greater public?
You know, they do on a day-to-day basis, but I on a personal level, and I know that my higher self doesn't need to know, like, when I'm going to die and all that stuff, because it's also limiting in potential. That's like, nothing is determined. Everything is this is a really chock-full question. Yeah, everything's done through free will. So you know, if I want to learn about myself, then they highly suggest that you look into astrology, because astrology is the energetic imprint of who you are. And it has to do with time, and it has to do with reincarnation and future incarnations, and there's a wealth of knowledge and information in astrology. So if there's something I want to know about myself, I've gotten from them that you can find it out or deduce it through astrology.
Interesting. Now, do the Pleiadians, I don't know, do you have any possibility that you will ever go with the Pleiadians to their planet or their solar system, or is that not possible?
That is not possible. No, I'm not going to do that. Actually, I don't know what's possible, so I'm not going to leave that out, but that's not something I really want to do. I definitely want to really help people here on the planet as long as I can, because the planet really needs it, and this planet is so much in turmoil right now that it needs as much light and love and whatever you want to call it. It needs it. So for me to just play escape and to leave for my own selfish reasoning would be completely it'd be like compromising my own integrity to incarnate as a human. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. So, do the Pleiadians ever give you information about any other species of aliens? Like, is there truth to people that claim that they have seen greys and they've been abducted, or reptilians, or mantis, or blue avians?
They do give me information. However, it's not necessarily about that. However, I've gone on my own, and I believe that they have guided me towards information that is going to help me understand that kind of those kind of interactions with those beings. But personally, they tell me about psychic attacks, and they tell me about the fourth dimensional imagination and the power of it, and how it is also being used against me. If I am not strong in my imagination and willpower, then another entity is very likely to do that, and that's what we're seeing in all the mental cases now. The degradation, or the the breaking down of our mental identity is a epidemic case right now, because proportions, because it is we're being exposed to higher dimensional cosmic energies, and other beings are there's a lot to gain from them if they are able to control us and be able to use us as a resource. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Now, going back to the whole thing about religion, have you ever discussed with the Pleiadians anything about if demonic possession is real, or if there's really demons and forces like that, or if there's really a god or a devil?
Well, yes, there are demons, but not in the biblical sense. There are beings that want to take over your body, and that want to take over your power and your own energy field, because they can gain and control it for their own means. And there is definitely what is it called? Entity possession is what a lot of terminology that I hear a lot. But the whole biblical sense of demons being these horned beings are, I think it gets a little bit convoluted there. So they don't have to be physical. They're not physical. They're everything that in the physical world has an astral equivalent. So the astral is like a light equivalent. So even if we're not in the three-dimensional reality, the astral plane and the higher planes of existence also interact and have actually a lot more power on the three-dimensional reality, because they are a downward force. Or it's hard to explain. But yes, they do comment about demons and how they impact us in our day-to-day psychological activities.
Interesting. So, if people want to find out about you and your channeling or the Pleiadians, where do they go to find that?
You can go to my website. It's ChaneyBJones.com, and you can also find me on Facebook with that same name, Chaney B. Jones. And I also offer a life coaching consultation, Soul Blueprint Life Coaching, and that is completely. I've been working with the Pleiadians on developing this, and it has to do with your own blueprints and how you can live your highest purpose here on Earth. So you can reach me and find out more about that on my website of a whole transformation